Good morning, welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Friday the 11th of January 2019. I'm Darren Sinden, and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. And a bit what we might term, I suppose, is a resumption of normal service. What I mean by that is the trends that were in place at the early part of the week have continued after a small hiatus yesterday. The euro pushing on against the US dollar, up by 0.22%. Even the pound sterling in the cable rates is improving, up 0.11% against the US dollar as well, despite the Brexit turmoil that's ongoing. But we need to look to Australasia for the bigger gains. A nice move from the Australian dollar, up by 0.39% against its US rival, but it's overshadowed by near neighbour New Zealand, where the Kiwi is up 0.36% against the US currency overnight. The Chinese yuan pushing back against the US dollar, taking 0.57% off of its US rival. Yuan dollar trading at 675.25 this morning. The Brazilian real, a currency that has been gaining strongly over recent weeks against the US currency, paused for breath and gave back 0.81% against the US dollar. So it wasn't entirely one-way traffic, although dollar index for its part down 0.17% on the session to trade at 95.38, but still well off the lows that we saw earlier in the week. Okay, what's on the calendar then? Events that may move the markets today. Well, we've already had a speech by FOMC and Fed Vice Chair Richard Clarida. We also had retail sales data out of Australia for the month of November overnight, and they were slightly better than the consensus forecast and the prior read. And to come this morning at 9:30 GMT, we'll have a raft of data out of the UK, manufacturing production for November, industrial production for November, trade balance data for November, as well as a monthly GDP read for the month of November as well. So a real chance to dig into a large portion of the UK economy and trade with the rest of the world. Then we pause till 13:30 GMT and jump over the Atlantic for a series of US inflation data, CPI index core data for December, month-on-month data for December, CPI price index ex food and energy, etc., etc. So a whole raft of data, as I say there, and a chance really to see what direction inflation is trending in the USA. As the economy appears to be improving still, one might expect inflation to be creeping up, though of course lower oil prices that we saw before the Christmas break will potentially have dragged down some of those inflationary pressures. Speaking of oil, at 1800 GMT tonight we shall have the influential Baker Hughes US oil rig count. Remember, that's a record of the number of active drilling rigs that are operational in the US currently. And then at 1900, a very timely look at the monthly budget statement for the US, a look at the state of play of government finances. Of course, these are very much in focus as the debt burden continues to mount and the US government shutdown seems to continue unabated. Okay then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. Well, first of all, speaking of that US government shutdown, it's on course to become the longest ever today at 22 days, and its consequences are many and various, but they include unpaid workers and missed data releases, but new items are coming to light on a regular basis. And of course, don't forget, as I said yesterday, Fitch have said that they're reviewing, or watching at least, the US AAA credit rating the longer this government shutdown goes on, and there seems to be little sign of any kind of negotiated settlement between the White House and Democrat Congress. Meanwhile, Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono will head to Moscow today for talks about disputed territories in the Northern Pacific. Tensions have been heightened after robust comments made on the matter by Japan ahead of the meeting, and indeed Moscow called the Japanese ambassador in to protest at those comments ahead of the meeting, so it could be quite a tense time there. And speaking of negotiations, China's top trade official Li He will visit Washington DC next week to try to move trade talks with the USA on to the next level, says the FT. So no deal yet, but that's, I suppose, progress of a sort. Okay then, food for thought and something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? As economies in Southeast Asia grow and improve, wages, labour and production costs there rise. Businesses in developed nations looking to offshore activities try to seek out new low-cost locations as Southeast Asia becomes relatively expensive. One such low-cost venue, and perhaps a surprising one, is Madagascar, which is making a name for itself as a data processing hub with high-speed broadband. And I think this really speaks to the effects of globalization and the power of the internet to distribute jobs to far-flung corners of the globe. Obviously, Madagascar, Africa's largest island, but a relatively poor country, and one would have assumed relatively poor infrastructure, but that's not the case. And as the chart here shows, there's been a tremendous growth in outsourcing companies in Madagascar. Most of the businesses here are involved in data processing, and it's sort of counterintuitive and yet very encouraging to see that this kind of thing is happening. Okay, please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks and the suitability of leveraged products, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative, who'll be happy to help you. And do take the time, please, to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you for your time today.